Hi there, my name is Salman Shahi, and I'm a composer and musician based in Toronto, Canada. This video is part of a series providing basic guidance to beginner to intermediate composers to improve their abilities and their technical crafts. I would like to keep these videos very short and to the point, and therefore I will provide additional guidance and resources at the end of each video. In this episode, we want to explore ways to make our harmonies and chord progressions sound better. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Have you ever wondered why a certain chord progression or harmony has an X factor? While there are a lot of considerations to be made when writing a chord progression or harmony, here are 3 golden rules that can help you have a more impactful and effective harmonic progression. Rule number 1, attention to motion. So any 2 notes can have 3 possible motions in relation to each other: parallel, contrary, and oblique. In a lot of popular idioms, chords usually move from one to another in a strictly parallel manner. While there's nothing inherently wrong with parallel motion, it's good to keep in mind that there are other ways that one chord can move to another. Take these 4 chords for instance: C major, going to A minor, going to F major, going to G major. This is how it would sound if all the chords moved in exact parallel motion. Sounds fine, but now let's find other creative ways to connect these chords together so that we can have a little bit more variety in motion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these chords in their inversions, which means a rearrangement of their notes without changing the notes themselves. This is going to allow me to have a little bit more freedom in terms of how I'm going to move from one chord to the next. So in this case, as you can see, I'm trying to minimize big jumps between chords and connecting any note to the closest of the next chord. Now there are hundreds of different ways to connect these 4 chords together. This is just one of them. Now remember, what we're working here is just the tip of the iceberg. Good part writing requires a lot of other considerations and applications of rules, but this is a pretty good start. Rule number 2, common notes. As the name suggests, common notes are basically one or more notes that are the same and common between 2 chords. Of course, not all chords have common notes between them, but when they do, it's beneficial to use them to our advantage. Now, this would mean that when 2 chords have a common note, we want to keep that note stationary while other notes move around them. This would make a much more compelling counterpoint and smoother transitions between 2 harmonies. Let's take the same example again. As you see here, the notes that any 2 chords share stay put while the other notes move around to create the next chord. In its simplest form, this is what we refer to as counterpoint in music. Basically the way in which 2 or more notes move in relation to one another in a musical way. So just by using these 2 tricks, your chord progressions and your harmonic writing is going to be enhanced to a whole other level. And one final rule, spacing or voicing. So the way you spread a chord across your instrument and the way you arrange the notes is what we call voicing or spacing. We can have 2 types of voicing. One is closed and one is open. One of the most common mistakes that inexperienced composers make is that they voice their chords or space the notes in rather ineffective ways. Here's the simplest rule to think about. More space in the bass, closer in treble. This has to do with how sound waves work. More bass sound waves and frequencies need a lot more space because they have longer wavelengths. And the same way, more treble and higher pitches and frequencies have shorter wavelengths and they don't need as much space. This is one of the reasons that when you put too many notes close to each other in the bass region, things start to sound really muddy and heavy. For instance, look at these 2 examples. In this example, we have a really concentrated chord in the bass, and then many notes way up in the treble. There's a big acoustic hole in the middle that needs filling. Now, unless this muddy sound is what you intend as a composer, then it's fine. Otherwise, we need to do some work to fix it. Here's one way to make this voicing sound a little bit more effective. Here, I'm giving my bass sounds a good large room to breathe, and as I go higher, I group my notes closer together. That's it for this episode, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Now remember, there are a lot of other things to know and learn, when dealing with harmony in music, but adhering to these 3 simple rules can already get you very far. If you'd like to learn more about theory and rudiments, I would suggest that you check out these 2 books, Harmony and Voice Leading, Carl Schachter and Edward Aldwell. Guide to Practical Study of Harmony, Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Thanks again for tuning in. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, I would be happy to chat with you in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also share this video with a friend who you think might enjoy it. In the next episode, we'll be discussing melody writing, so I hope to see you there again. Thanks again, and see you soon.